And we're recording.
Well,
That's all the intro I've got.
I came up with a good intro. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
Well, it's episode 4, and you know the score. Welcome to Your Time Starts Now, a Taskmaster podcast.
That was actually really good.
Yeah, we won't be able to do it again because we'll never have another episode 4.
Well, until we get to like episode 24.
Won't sound as good, but oh well. We shall proceed. Welcome everyone. We've already mentioned the name of the podcast. I'm Emerson.
And I'm Joe.
And today we will be covering episode 4 of the first series of Taskmaster, Down an Octave. Funny title.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But first, what's happened in your life, Joe?
The Browns lost.
Wah, wah, wah.
Which is partly because they played kind of like trash and part of it, and also because the refs, they're wearing blindfolds that they only take off when the Kansas City Chiefs are being slighted. If the Cleveland Browns, have someone get hit in the fucking head with a helmet, it's not a penalty, because why would it be? I'm not bitter.
That's up for debate. I'm just going to pretend I know everything you just said, but oh well, we shall progress.
The officiating was bad. That's the translation.
Okay. I don't really have anything going on in my life. I guess I'm still alive. Still got both feet on the ground in the midst of the pandemic that is still ripping its way across the world, but at a slightly slower pace because in this country we're vaccinating people.
Yeah, how is lockdown phase 3 going?
Oh, I mean, it's something else, something very, very else. We're all stuck inside again. Having said that, there's normally a bunch of people in the park behind my house, so you win some, you lose some, I guess.
Yeah. But the world keeps on turning, even though we'd all like it to stop. Anyways, moving on to today's episode. It is, as you said, called Down an Octave, and as always, it begins with a prize task. And today's task, yay, indeed! Today's task is the most beautiful item. And as always, we are given these prizes by Josh Widdicombe, Frank Skinner, Ramesh Ranganathan, Roisin Conity, and Tim Key. And going in the order I have them written down, because I don't remember what order they went in, Josh goes up first with a magic eye painting that he claims is Greg Davies, the Taskmaster, naked in it.
As naked as the day he was born.
As naked as the day he was born, I see an ugly lump of, dissonant colors, which, coming from me, that's a surprise that I think it's not that good looking. But
I see the source of photosensitive epilepsy in that picture.
Yeah, which is astonishing considering it's not moving. Next we have the world's oldest man, Frank Skinner, who has as his tradition, he's brought in something older than dirt. In this case, it's a themed vacuum cleaner cover, which presumably he borrowed from someone in 1897 and hasn't given it back yet.
No, he hasn't. Frank Skinner needs to keep a diary of all he's borrowed.
Well, yeah, but half of them end up in the British Museum after a while, so he has to keep that close to the vest.
Maybe Frank Skinner is Doctor Who. He could try. That's why he's so old.
Dr. Frank, yes. But it's not that bad. It's just not that good either.
It's weird. I'm not sure what the animal's supposed to be. Roisin said it looked like a badger, like the tit-sniffing badger.
Hold on, I'm actually going to go through the episode and see what it's supposed to look like. It looks like ye olde Victorian taxidermy gone wrong. Like those like old Victorian taxidermy things where it's like frogs wearing hats and sitting at dinner tables because everyone needed a creative outlet, even when like they didn't have running water. That's what it looks like. It looks like someone's taxidermied like a sheep or a skunk into like being a ye olde Victorian woman with a bonnet and everything like that.
It's more likely to be a badger than a skunk. Although it could be
some animal with a black and white coloration of that thing. It has a sun hat. It has a flowery dress. It's super weird.
It looks like something you'd see in a natural history museum.
It looks like this is supposed to have a plaque on it saying this was worn by Lady Elizabeth Debney in 1837 or something. It's not a vacuum cleaner cover, it's a dress.
Fun fact, Lady Elizabeth Debney is Frank Skinner's daughter.
Well, presumably. We don't know how old Frank Skinner is, so we don't know if he adopted a child or if he spawned...
I don't think calendars go back that far to tell us how old Frank Skinner is.
Nope. But anyways, so Frank has, the vacuum cleaner he borrowed in the 1870s, the vacuum cleaner cover, that is, and then Ramesh pulls out with a statue of a mother and child, which is actually kind of poignant, which is unexpected considering that it's Ramesh.
This was a nice statue. I love the simplicity in how it looks.
Yeah, it's a very nice little thing. It's actually, of course, I believe it is from his home, which, that means his wife will be very thrilled about that because he...
As we see, Ramesh takes a lot of stuff without his wife's permission.
Yeah, it was, I believe it was some sort of gift when his children were born, given from, like, an in-law, which is still a very beautiful little thing.
Yeah, it's very nice, but not to Greg.
Not to Greg, but Greg is sometimes wrong. And then on to...
Greg is the taskmaster. He is never wrong.
I score these too, and I say that he is also wrong. Additionally, what's he going to do? Glare at me from across the Atlantic?
Greg Davis, if you want to come onto this podcast and square up to Joe, you're welcome to come on. We're sorry we can't pay you because we're not getting paid.
I'll argue with Greg Davies. I'll fight God. Let's see. Anyways, moving on.
That would be the fight. That would be bigger than KSI versus Logan Paul 2. That would be the fight of the century.
I'll pretend I know what that means. Anyways, keep moving on.
YouTube boxing match a few years ago.
Cool. Rasheen brings in something which, again, if you know me personally, you'll be shocked that I think this is ugly, but this is a hideous, sequiny dress that looks like it's made out of stained glass or something. Like
it's a cardigan.
It's ugly, whatever the cut it is.
It looks like Joseph. It looks like Joseph's amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
But that one looked better. This is Rasheen's Technicolor or stained glass window. Which Frank Skinner pointed out it looked like a stained glass window, presumably because Frank Skinner was around when they invented the first stained glass window. But anyways, it's really not.
We will run that joke into. We will flog this dead horse until it's broken in half. Just to clarify.
Mm-hmm. But Frank Skinner.
Sorry for putting that image in your head.
Frank Skinner is very old, and it's still very funny. Anyways, this is not a good look. I think it's because of the texturing that's on it. It looks like it's just made of ugly.
It looks really coarse. And you probably wouldn't wear it against bare skin anyway, but it would probably be quite rough, and it looks rather heavy as well.
It looks just sort of ugly, but moving on to the last one and the obvious winner of this competition, Tim Key has done this the right way, and he bought a round-trip flight to Cologne in Germany. And he's said that you can go visit the Cologne Cathedral, which is, as we all know, a very beautiful old example of 16th century, some time in which Frank Skinner could go and witness its construction. But it's a very beautiful, very old building in Germany that survived World War II and everything. It's gorgeous, and Tim has bought you a round trip flight from, I think, London Stansted, because
No,
it's a cheap ass.
it
Which
goes from Luton, I
Oh,
think.
Luton. So it's EasyJet, not Ryanair, because Ryanair flies out of Stansted, I think. Or is it the other way around?
It was either Luton or Stan. I think it was more likely Luton, but the ticket was in Romesh's name, and this caused problems for Romesh because he lives near a Gatwick airport.
Yeah, and that's distinctly Ramesh's problem. Also, it caused issues for Rasheen, because she claimed, well, if she won it, she'd have to disguise herself as Ramesh, because she didn't know that you could change the name on the ticket. So she's saying that she would have to dress up as Ramesh, to which Ramesh said, and it's like, oh, that'd be quite different. And Ramesh goes, that's not the biggest difference here. Because, obviously there's a large number of differences between those two.
Mm.
They're basically the exact opposite as you can get from two individual human beings.
Yeah. Romesh takes no shit. Roshin's very happy-go-lucky.
Mm-hmm. And then, so we have the scores now, which is that Greg gave Tim first place, obviously, because Cologne Cathedral is very beautiful. And then he gave Josh Whitcomb 4, because it seemed like it was a good-looking thing to Greg. Then Frank Skinner gets 3 points with his Elizabeth Debney edition vacuum cleaner cover. Rasheen gets 2 for her stained glass cardigan, and Ramesh gets 1 point because Ramesh Ranganathan must suffer.
Oh dear. Ramesh. Sometimes I want to give you a hug and say, there, little child. It's all right.
And then he'd smack you. Anyways, do you want to do the intro so I can do the other, how I score this?
Taskmaster Joe. Welcome.
We have to do this like 4 times an episode, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully this doesn't get old. Anyways,
my hope with that little jingle is to, if when this podcast inevitably becomes the biggest piece of media in the world, famous musicians will be begging for us to let them do jingles to that.
That would be hilarious. Weird Al, please call us, because Weird Al's great. Anyways, Tim Key I gave 5 points to, because it is a beautiful cathedral, and also I like flying on airplanes. I gave Ramesh 4 points in a uncharacteristically generous move, because it is a very beautiful and simple piece, even if it came from Ramesh. Frank and Rasheen, I did not change their scores, because Frank's vacuum cleaner cover is mildly aesthetically pleasing over if you look at it long enough. Rasheen's cardigan is ugly, and Josh's magic eye painting is really, really bad.
Yeah. It's a mess.
It's really not great.
But those 4 points that Josh did get help him on the way to a very good episode this time.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh Whitcomb does very well.
You look at Josh Whitcomb and you wouldn't. Maybe you'd think someone who would do quite well, but I'd say not really. Josh Whitcomb is a man who will surprise you.
Mm-hmm. So then we go on to the next task, which is your duty this week.
Yeah. So this task, it's making me shiver, because the task is to make a large block of ice disappear. That was good. Well, it wasn't really a joke. It was just like an opening statement-ish.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the task is to make a large block of ice disappear, and oh god, I mean, this is such an interesting task, because it shows how it reminds me of the watermelon task. It's a very simple premise to the watermelon task, and each team. Well, I guess they're teams in their own sense. I mean, they've got all these little components inside their head, Just to clarify, this is not a team task. That's the next task. But each person tackles the task in such a strange way. I mean, not all of them are totally unique, but you can see it perfectly matches the aspects of their characters. And that, like, that's what I love about these tasks is, like, do X or Y the fastest, because it's like, that's how you really distinguish the. All right, I'll stop rambling because I sound
Well,
quite
I would
boring.
say that it's not exactly representative of their characters in this show because Rasheen was uncharacteristically competent in this episode.
I mean, she's competent sometimes, but when we'll talk about this task, we'll see another side of Roshin. But
So,
we'll start with ye olde Frankie Skinnery and Little Josh Widdicombe. Fucking hell. I sound like Porky Pig stuttering all the time. Why did you just do that,
we
folks?
did this earlier in the day specifically so you wouldn't be tired. Do you need to go to bed?
No, I'm not going to bed. I'm going to keep going. All right. Don't. Fucking hell. All right, we're going to start with Frank and Josh. So Frank and Josh, fuck me. What do Frank and Josh do? Well, basically, the two men have a breakdown. Essentially, like I can imagine going round to either of their houses while they were doing something similar to this and thinking, "I'm not safe in here."
I mean, I thought that Josh and Frank were actually the two most like normal ones of this because Frank ends up melting the ice in the bathtub and then is displeased by this outcome and puts it in the oven, which
Yeah,
doesn't seem that offhand to me.
yeah, he does do that, but Greg pointed out that in isolation, it looks like two men having a breakdown.
Ah.
Because I mean, if you walked into a person's house and you just had like 4 or 5 pots on the hob that were just bubbling away with nothing in them, you, and they were just left there, you'd think something was a bit wrong.
Perhaps. Or they're trying to find enough eggs to boil for their mini golf game.
Yeah. Oh, I did make note of this. So what Frank does is he uses Josh's mug to try and transport the ice cube into the house.
Mm-hmm.
The block of ice, I mean.
Yes.
Although it's Josh's mug in wheelbarrow form.
Yeah.
And I mentioned last time that I watched these episodes on 1.5 times the speed. Seeing
Oh no.
Frank Skinner just throw the ice into the wheelbarrow and for then it to just immediately tip over, and seeing how he just jumps around in surprise is so funny.
Yeah, I can imagine that. And then
So my notes are a bit higgledy-piggledy. But Frank uses Alex's help to just get the ice block into the bath, and he just starts running hot water over it. And once it's in small enough chunks, he then throws the ice in the oven. And I was quite surprised that the oven didn't melt the ice right away. I mean, I know it would be quite dense and maybe incredibly cold, but when
I was
heat
surprised
like
by that
that,
too, actually.
because Frank finally completed the task in almost half an hour.
Yeah,
Um,
27 minutes 28 seconds exactly.
I was quite surprised. I mean, I've seen ice melt in hot water faster than Frank's ice melt in the oven.
Yeah. Maybe the oven was broken or it was just shit.
Maybe Frank unknowingly had a Romesh pulled on him, and the oven was broken for him, but it wasn't broken for everyone else.
That could be very possible, but Frank, doesn't get upset like Ramesh does.
I mean, he got a
Because
bit
Frank
upset during the high five a 55-year-old task.
A
Um,
little bit.
and his push up and away film.
Oh yeah, but
Hashtag tree wizard for life.
oh my god, hashtag anti-wizard. Anyways, well, Frank gets sad, Ramesh gets angry. They're the opposite sides of upset.
Fair enough. By the way, you're not the angry wizard. You're the deforestation wizard.
Yes, yes, I am basically a Captain Planet villain. But
The fuck is Captain Planet?
it's an old cartoon about people trying to save the planet, and basically, like, pollution is a villain that's like an actual villain. I
Oh, right.
think it was a '90s cartoon that I assumed you would get the reference for, and clearly I assumed incorrectly.
There wasn't a lot of. I mean, there were like a lot of cartoons, but I don't think Captain Planet was a big cartoon popular in the 1990s.
Yeah, hold on. Captain Planet and the Planeteers, 1990 to 1990 to 1996.
It
So
could have aired on sometime in this country. I don't know, but oh well.
yeah, yeah.
Whitcomb had a.
Basically, I am an eco villain, as is called in the show as a group of antagonists. I didn't watch this, but I think it's a funny joke.
Yeah. I suppose it is. Um, Josh Whitcomb. What does he do? He does something very similar. But he just melts the ice. He gets the ice block in the bath. But not without shoving it off the table and having it smash a bit, probably to
Yeah,
just make it a bit lighter. And he just
I thought.
lets it all melt in the bath. And he
Although
ended up being.
he does use boiling water. There's a kettle in the
Yeah, yeah, he does use boiling water, but he doesn't use like the oven technique.
no. Which I'd actually like to point something out is that his kettle is a very British invention, which is a electric kettle that you plug in and boil water. As an American who's lived in America his entire life, that is not something we have in this country, like at all. Is an electric kettle.
Really? They're like everywhere. I mean, kettles have like their own little hob.
No, no, I know exactly what it is because I've watched enough British television, but in the United States, the vast majority of the time, people use either teapots, which are like, you put them on the stove and then the water boils inside of it,
Yeah.
is the most common way. And then, you know, in my mother, she will either heat her tea in the microwave if it goes cold, or she will or the we have a water cooler that you put big bottles of water into, and that has a heating element in it, and it puts out fairly hot water without the need for a kettle. So
Interesting.
we don't we don't have the electric kettles at all. Nor
That's
do we have teas maids, I would like to point out.
My family doesn't have a teas made, at least not that I've seen.
Yeah, but like that's not a thing that anyone in America has. I just want to point that out.
If it's got the word tea in it, you probably don't have it.
Now, most America's a very like, obviously there's no universal thing for Americans because there's 300 million of us, so there's always going to be some amount of diversity, but as a rule, Americans are much more focused towards coffee than we are towards tea. At least tea
Yeah,
isn't. At least we don't have a national beverage that's part of our identity like tea is for the United Kingdom.
yeah, there is that. If there was one, it would probably be Coca-Cola.
Yeah, Coca-Cola or maybe Starbucks, because those are both huge companies that started in the United States and are like one of our bigger exports to the world.
My family went to Seattle for a family holiday in 2018, and we went to the original Starbucks house.
Hmm.
Fun
Yeah,
bit
that
of trivia for you. Do whatever you want
and
with
I
it.
can and I can hear all of our Washington State-based listeners losing their minds because oh, Starbucks is a chain. You should have gone to this really good local roastery right down the street. It's like it's just fucking coffee. I'm not gonna be too picky over it.
I do have a Starbucks gift card, though.
Yep. But anyways, moving on to the next person. Who is it? Is it Roshin?
It's Roshin. They go in.
Oh, Josh did it in 17 minutes and 4 seconds, just so we have that written out.
That's over 10 minutes quicker than Frank, and I would have thought that Josh did it slower than Frank, but maybe that oven was just so fucked to high hell and back that his efforts were just unsavable.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, Roshin. Oh, dearie me, Roshin.
She was smart for once.
She was smart, but slow.
Yeah.
30 minutes, 20 seconds. So what did Roshin do? So she got...
No, you keep going. I thought you'd actually asked a question.
No, we ask ourselves questions and then we tend to answer them.
Ah. We haven't been doing this for 4 episodes. This is all still one extended taping in which I don't know how podcast works.
One technical difficulty later.
And the damn microphone fell over and hit the button that turned off the recording, because technology is wonderful. Keep going.
You know what the funny thing about that is? Your microphone fell over just as I was repeating my intro. This is episode 4 and we know the score. Evidently not.
Yeah, we're good at this.
All right, Roshin. 30 minutes, 20 seconds. We might have already mentioned that. I can't remember. It was so long ago, about 2 minutes. She gets Widdicombe's mug back out and uses it to move the ice block. Focus, Emerson. She uses it to move the block of ice to the window right next to the front door, which is the window to the bathroom, and she sticks the shower head out over the block of ice so all the hot water pours onto it. Then she asks Alex to hold it before going back in and coming out with a kettle and I think a wooden spoon.
No, she had a hammer, not a wooden spoon.
It looked like a wooden spoon from where I was, but if it was a hammer, so be it. Either way, she just starts bashing the block of ice, and it's like it felt like one of those things when you put a monkey in like a room full of objects, and it will just pick up the first thing it sees and start bashing it against the wall. I think
also
that's what...
some quotes from this is, "Alex, can you take the hair out of my mouth, please?" says Roshin, because she's too busy boiling water.
It's disgusting. I feel bad for Alex because that's basically all he does is take hair out of people's mouths on the show.
This makes you feel bad for Alex. Not anything else that will ever happen to him in the history of Taskmaster.
Oh yes, but the only thing, the first big fatal blow to Alex's reputation as a respectable human being has been knocked off its perch.
Yeah, I guess. Man does not know how to say no. But she also says, "It's like Frozen," which is, we'll get to Greg's response in a minute.
Sorry, I already mentioned it.
Oh, Greg points out, Frozen is a cartoon, right?
Roshin's not competent enough to notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Roshin's IQ is her age.
I think if anyone's going to come on this podcast and fight us IRL, it would be Roshin fighting you for making fun of her.
Everything we say on here, if you're listening, Roshin, everything we're saying is a joke. We love you, you're hilarious, and no harm is meant. But
if you're willing to email us at ytsnpod@gmail.com.
If you want to
I'd pay
come
to
onto
see
the
you.
talk, we're down. We can't pay you though because we're not getting paid. That that just be like the if you would make like an advert that plays every time I mention a person who's related to the show's name. It's just like, you come onto the podcast to defend yourself. We can't pay you because we're not getting paid.
Yeah, I think you should just clip that audio and put that in as like a drop every time we do that, like in the editing. Because
Yeah,
that's pretty much on brand for this show.
yeah. That's Taskmaster doesn't like to. Well, it goes the extra mile sometimes, but sometimes the humor comes in not going the extra mile.
Taskmaster goes the extra mile. We go the extra kilometer, which is shorter and therefore not as good.
I go the extra mile by staying up when I'm incredibly tired, which I'm basically forced to do because of the extreme gap in time zones.
Yeah. At some point in the future, you'll message me. It's like, what time do you want to do this? And I'll say, oh, like 3 p.m. works. And you'll be like, oh, you're up early. It's like, nah, I'm in Aberdeen or something. Like I've come to the United Kingdom and didn't tell you. Or I'll be standing outside your bed. You're like, I'll find out where you live and be standing outside with like a microphone held in the air, like that one scene from the movie where the guy's holding the boombox up. It's like, we
Uh,
have to do it now.
if you do that, I will go under my bed and pull out my American box. Inside is an AK-47.
Really, the most Russian gun in the world is your American box. Those actually aren't legal in this country. I don't think the AK-47.
It's the first gun that came to my head, man. I'm sorry.
M16 would be the one you're looking at, but as
Basically,
a more American one.
Yeah, I'll do that. But who knows?
But
Maybe I'll finally bring communism to the States with my AK-47.
Sure thing. U.S. Border Control would like to know your location. Anyways, what has Tim and
Didn't
Ramesh
Joe
done?
Biden get inaugurated? Oh no, he's not inaugurated. He gets inaugurated on Wednesday.
I was going to say, I understand that you don't know that much, but from what I've been led to understand, that's world news that when Joe Biden will be inaugurated, and I would assume that everybody knows. But no, Donald Trump is still the president for the next couple of days.
Mm.
So,
I mean, this podcast will probably come out by the time Joe Biden is president. And shall I do the thing? Joe Biden, if you're listening to this, we don't mean offense to you. We don't want to make the United States of America a communist country. If you want to talk about what we've said on the podcast, feel free. We can't pay you because we're not getting paid.
Yes. Oh my God. But to all our listeners in the future, we are recording this episode on January 18th, 2021, in the last days of the Donald Trump administration. Moving on, what have Tim and Ramesh done?
Well, Tim, oh dear Tim. Tim, he gets the block of ice and chucks it in the Thames, claiming that once it's in the Thames, it's disappeared. But Alex claims he can still see it, and even when Alex can't see it,
which I thought that was actually a very inventive thing. I thought it was a very inventive way of doing it, of getting it, and it's disappeared, and then Alex just had to follow it because he's trying to to be a dick. But I thought that was a very inventive way of doing it.
It had its perks. It's really up for debate. Do you think it's disappeared, or do you think it's not disappeared? Because they said even when Alex can't see it, it could probably be still visible down the river for quite some time.
Well, actually, Tim asked at the beginning of this, what does disappeared mean? And I think we do need an official ruling on what disappeared means. Like, what's the game show where they have a woman with a dictionary on it? Is that
Countdown. Or
Countdown? They need
yeah,
someone
Countdown.
like that on here, because my thinking is that it's disappeared from the perspective of Alex Horn, and therefore it's gone from the show's purposes. So
They
I'm
actually did
going to
that
say that,
in. They did do that for the second
yeah,
series.
they did, but I couldn't remember what it was called, but um I thought that it should count, because he did actually get rid of it.
Yeah, he did get rid of it, but the task wasn't to get rid of the ice, it was to make it disappear.
That's true, but can anything really disappear if we're getting down to, like, the laws of conservation of mass and whatnot?
Wait, to make something disappear means you can't. Wait, I've just had a thought. Once they'd all done the tasks, I think it was after Tim's. I think it was particularly after Tim's. But what Greg does is he hides his hand behind one of his cue cards, and he asks Alex, "Has my hand disappeared?" And Alex says, "It has disappeared because I can't see it." Someone could have just like taken a blanket and
That was
covered
my
the ice with,
exact thought.
and just covered the ice with that. You can't see the ice. For all you know,
Yeah,
it could
this
just
is
be a small box sitting under the blanket.
there was no box mate, but we
Oh,
should have as
fuck
the
off.
title of this episode, what does disappeared mean? That should be the title of this episode. The dictionary definition of disappear.
I think the title should be my celebrity tagline. We can't pay you
Yes, do
because we're
you
not
want
getting
to
paid.
That's actually a really good one. And then moving on to Ramesh Ranganathan, I actually sent you in the Discord my entire notes on Ramesh's attempt. If you just want to
I can take
look
a
at
look.
that.
Because I feel like Ramesh has. This was very interesting for Ramesh because he took a very outside the box
Melanesque
approach, like
approach.
melanescopy.
He
Sorry, I
took a
don't know
very
why that word just
Melanesque approach.
very melancholy. Oh, we should have made
Oh
that
my
joke when it
god.
was relevant too.
Yeah, we should have. But
So, what Ramesh does is he starts just throwing the ice around like it's a toy, waiting for bits of it
yeah.
to break off.
Did you,
And I'm
yeah,
just.
if you haven't seen my notes, there you'll see it in a second.
My Wi Fi's a bit shit, so. And it's also sideways. Smash melon crossed out and replaced with the word ice. Then melt shards.
Do not disappear.
Do not
It's supposed
disappear.
to be just because Ramesh is very bad at this, and he also did the exact same thing as he did in the melon task, which is to smash the melon, and then, but this time it was just the ice, except that this time he didn't make the ice disappear, he just turned it into smaller shards of ice.
This task would be a good conversation starter for Ramesh. It'd really break the ice.
Oh my god. What fucking Christmas cracker did you find that in? That's terrible.
Christmas cracker called My Dumb Brain.
Oh my god. Anyways.
It sounds like we're recording
Ramesh
this
was,
at about 1 in the morning because of how tired we sound.
yeah. Oh, you sound tired. I'm fine. It's 2:45 in the afternoon. Here.
I think we should stress
You
that
think what?
we were supposed to record this episode yesterday, but this guy had to watch his sports, which meant I was left with nothing to do, and it disrupted my flow.
Do you know the last time the Cleveland Browns got to the second round of the playoffs? Do you know? 1995. I wasn't born yet.
Neither
it's
was
kind of a big deal.
I'm sorry, but To give you how little knowledge I know of American football, I think of Cleveland Brown from Family Guy. When do you say that?
That's fine. You know who
Now,
else
now,
wasn't
now,
born?
now, now, now. Who?
That's Baker Mayfield, the quarterback. He wasn't born the last time the team went to the second round of the playoffs, and he's the captain. So
do you know someone who was born? Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner was born before the invention of the ball. So we're just going to allow him to do anything, allow him to be as old as he wants. Anyways, before we go on, so now we have the scores for this task. Do you want to discuss those?
Before we discuss the scores, there's one thing we forgot to mention. Josh Widdicombe counting the beans.
Well, that was after the...
No, it was during
Wasn't that after?
It was right. It was just before the first ad break.
Yes. Very quickly, Josh... Yeah, very quickly, Josh Widdicombe was asked to count how many baked beans were in a tin of baked beans. No anything... No, like, prompting or anything. It's just sort of, can you do this? Puts task on screen. That's it.
And it's like just the cliffhanger task for the episode. Yeah. And no one else does it. Josh Widdicombe does this all by himself.
Yep.
And it's glorious.
Josh is... It is really funny. Especially in a few minutes when we talk about the other tasks that he has to do. But for right now,
Greg
that's all
Davis
he's got to do.
Tries to cheer Josh up after doing all these tasks by calling him something quite dodgy, one of his special little boys.
Yeah, my thoughts on that were okay, Jimmy Savile. So I think that's a little bit on the side of being creepy.
We can't really talk about Jimmy Savile here.
No, we can't.
We might have to censor his name.
Really? Why?
I don't know. It's just such a sensitive. It's just a sensitive topic.
I guess. I mean, if you want to, because
mate, I'm a 19-year-old university student. If people hear this, I could be thrown out.
Really? God.
I don't know, but I probably won't be. But sometimes you just can't take the risk.
Okay, do whatever you got to do.
If we do decide to censor this name, it's not hard to think about who we're referring to. You might know, but please privately DM us on privately send us an email. Actually, we no, those emails will be very private at ytsnpod.com.
Yeah.
All right. But, scores on the doors. Widdicombe 5. Ye Olde Frankie 4, Roisin Hair in My Mouth Connaughty 3, Romesh Breaks the Ice 2, and Tim gets 1. I couldn't think of
and then if you wanted to,
I couldn't think of a snappy name for Tim.
Yeah, Tim, theoretically a poet, but if you want to just very quickly do the thing, only difference that I would make is that for my scores...
Wait. He's Joe, and he's American. He's Taskmaster Joe. Those things don't correlate. You can tell I'm running out of ideas.
God. Yeah, it's only episode 4, but anyways, the only change I would make is I would actually give Tim a full 5 points because Alex did stop the clock at 13 minutes and 40 seconds. That is when it ceased to be visible for him, and all we are counting on is the word of the Taskmaster Assistant that someone, somewhere further on down the Thames, might have noticed a block of ice floating down the river, which I doubt, and also, if he didn't see it, that the Taskmaster's Assistant, if he'd wanted to actually...
If you can't see it, it's not there.
Had melted. Yeah, if he'd wanted to see how long it actually stayed in the river, he should have gotten in a fucking boat and followed it. But because he didn't, he said that's when it stopped being visible. So we have to go at that point. So Tim Key is the winner, and all the people below him are knocked down by one.
I'm not sure. But anyway, it's your turn to talk.
If you have a if you have a debate, if you wish to debate the scores that I've given, first of all, go fuck yourself, and second of all, email me at ytsnpod@gmail.com.
I would say joke's on you. I can't fuck myself because I'm asexual, but I'm not asexual.
That's a good joke. That's a good.
It's
joke.
not a joke because it's not. It's. I'm not asexual.
I know, but it was still funny.
I mean, it was slightly funny. I hope no one takes these offensively.
If they, yeah, just don't take it offensively because we didn't mean it that way. Anyways, first group task is task 2, which is what?
Josh's second solo task.
Was that between these tasks? I didn't. I wasn't sure if I had it written down.
Count the number of spaghetti hoops in a tin. Circa 430 is what I put.
Yes, and we didn't say how many beans were in that jar. There were 406.
406, which seems like more than I thought for a tin of baked beans, but oh well. Team task. Your turn. Go.
Team task. Yes, this takes place in a squash court somewhere. Not actually playing squash. Well, theoretically, but they could have, but they didn't. This is basically foist a set of rules on some people and watch them go insane. The task that they are given is get to 11 points as fast as possible. Inside the squash court is a bunch of things. There is a bucket, some cupcakes, a table with chairs and a flower pot, a racket, a pair of rackets and some balls, and a couple of other things I might be missing. These teams are broken up into groups of
a duo and a trio.
The young people. Yeah, a duo and a trio. The duo of the young people, which is Ramesh Ranganathan, Roshan Kennedy, and Josh Whitcomb, and the duo of the elderly, Tim Key and Frank Skinner. Now, it should be noted that Tim Key is an elderly, but when you add him to Frank's age, it sort of averages out to be about 3 million years old.
Yeah.
So I would also like to point out that there's a new musical cue in this, but I'm not sure if it's new or if I just didn't hear it in any of the previous episodes.
Well, just describe the cue.
But I don't remember. I'm gonna and I don't want to have to go through the entire episode to listen to the music. But hold on, let me.
It's on YouTube. Just skip to the point.
I am. I don't.
I'll make my own royalty-free hold music while you do it.
Hold on. Here we go.
I'll do that next time you have to wait, unless you want me to do it now.
No, I got it. It's
Emerson's homemade hold music coming soon. Watch out for it.
Yeah. No, what it is it's basically there's a bit more like emphasis on bells. If you have the episode open, go to like 22 minutes and 25 seconds and just sort of see if this is a common thing in later seasons, but I think this is the first time we hear it.
Okay.
But anyways, they're told to get to 11 points as fast as possible, but they are not given any idea on how to score the points.
Yeah.
Alex Horn is up on a second level of this squash court because I guess there's like an observation level, and he has a scoreboard, and he will make it go up and down as per a pre-existing set of rules that they are not made aware of. For review's sake, the way that points are scored is as follows. If you shake your head, you lose a point. If you touch your head, you gain a point. And if you disrespect the picture of the taskmaster that is in the court, you lose 2 points.
Yeah.
So Frank and Tim actually managed to figure this out because Frank first starts trying to count points on the potted plant, which gets to 11. That does nothing. They try throwing the cupcakes, and then at 18 minutes, and after 18 minutes and 1 second, they eventually figure this out, that you have to touch your head to gain points. After they realize that you lose points by disrespecting pictures of the Taskmaster and shaking your head to lose more points, they eventually realize that if you touch your head, you get to 11, which they do. Meanwhile, over on the young people's side, they don't know how to play squash, as they readily admit. They also have no idea how to play this game, as their entire time of scoring points occurred by accident. Like, this is one of those behavioral study things they do with, like, monkeys, because Rasheen got them a point by touching her head by accident, like to brush her hair out of her face. And following that, they were trying frantically to retrace their steps of everything that they had done for the past, 10 minutes to figure out how to do it. In the process, brushing their noses or wiping their eyes or something, accidentally scoring 11 points. When it cuts back to the studio later on, they still don't know how they scored those points. Whereas Frank, because of his immense age and therefore immense experience in every way of life, he was able to cotton on to this very quickly. But the young ones did not. So somehow, though, they still managed this and accidentally gotten it in 11 minutes and 12 seconds, about 7 minutes faster than the elderly. And to which they are both rewarded with points. Greg gives 2 points each to the youth and 1 point each to the elderly. Now, if you want to do the Taskmaster Joe intro,
Taskmaster Joe, badoom.
Badoom, indeed. I would have given the young ones 0 points, because that implies that they were able to figure out how to do this, and they did not. They accidentally scored 11 points, which, while admirable, there was a team that actually figured out how to do it the proper way, and therefore I would have awarded the youth 0 points, and I would have awarded 3 points each to Tim and Frank, as they are obviously the best.
That's very interesting, actually.
I'm big on competency.
Yeah, I see that. It's good to. It's better to not be a monkey in front of a typewriter, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm big on people doing things, if not right, at least in the most right appearing way.
Yeah, that's a fair enough way to look at it.
Speaking of doing things competently, let's go on to the next task, which is fill an egg cup with as many tears as possible. You have 20 minutes. Which is such a good task for showing how people approach these problems.
I love this one. And also watching Josh Widdicombe on 1.5 times the speed. I could probably have produced more tears than he did.
Oh yeah. No, this is such a good thing. I'm going to send you just a picture of my notes in a second of my one of my favorite notes I've made this season.
Shall I start talking about?
Yes, keep talking. Don't pay attention.
All right. So what Josh Widdicombe does? He's up first. Is quite route one. He gets onions, cuts them in half, and just holds them under his eyes. And the reaction Josh Widdicombe has is like the only way I could describe it as, it's like when you feed a small child something they don't like, and they just go like, yeah. And I mean, even though nothing disgusting has been put in his mouth, and it's all the onion gas is going into his eyes, he's still got his tongue out and flapping his hands around like, yeah. Yeah, and it's oh god, I was in hysterics watching it on 1.5 times the speed because I'm impatient and need to get things done faster. And I also wrote down a quote from Josh. He couldn't get any tears out at one point, and he said, "I mean, there's fuck all in that," which is, and he said it with such that it was hard to feel that it was actually Josh Whitcomb because I don't know, it just didn't feel very Josh Whitcomb. All right, I've seen your notes.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
Onions.
my notes for Josh are they hurt, as if this is new information.
I think, Josh is like genuinely surprised that this is happening to him.
Yeah. And then Tim also tries.
Wait, hold on. Josh accumulates a whopping 7 tears, and then Tim,
which, who attempts to augment his onion-based sadness with powerful art.
Powerful art is hilarious.
Which I'm taking a screenshot of right now, so
we'll make that the Spotify thumbnail.
Yeah, we can make that one of the thumbnails for this on something. Let me see if I can find where it was.
If you haven't seen the episode,
keep talking.
The thumbnail for this podcast episode, and you will see what powerful art looks like. But first, Tim asks to see or hear a scene from the Full Monty. I haven't seen the Full Monty, but Tim describes the scene as a small child takes out all his savings to give to a character played by Robert Carlyle. And then he asks to see the E.T. audition. No idea which one in particular, but oh well.
No, I thought it was the scene from E.T. where E.T. has to go home.
I thought it was an audition.
It's sad.
I thought it was an audition.
No. It was like the E.T. phone home bit, I believe. It's a sad scene from the movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Although, obviously, he then tries looking at powerful art, which I've just put in the...
Would powerful...
So...
I mean... I want to know where that is, because I want to see it.
Okay, keep talking. I'm gonna Google.
Roshin... Roshin talks so weirdly during this that I've got no idea what she says. I think she asks to hear a bit of music. It doesn't work. Either way, it doesn't matter. She, like Tim, scores 0 tears. Yeah, Tim and Roshin get fuck all, in Josh's words. But then we come to Ramesh. And this what Ramesh does here reminds me a lot of Josh Whitcomb getting his tattoo. Very quickly, Ramesh takes off his glasses and he puts chili sauce in his eyes. And the music,
which I had,
the music that plays over this is so perfectly hilarious. It's kind of like a circus sounding piece. It's the same piece that plays while Tim and Ramesh are trying to empty the bathtub in the first episode.
Yeah. This is I actually have in my notes, I have written self-harm via hot sauce.
Also, there was a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen just as Ramesh was about to start that said, "Do not try this at home." Fair enough. I mean, who would?
If you need a disclaimer for this, you shouldn't be allowed to have eyes.
And Ramesh has got a kind of... Ramesh is known for his lazy eye. And the fact that he was willing to potentially screw up his eyes even more. Not that his lazy eye was his fault. We're not saying that. Ramesh Ranganathan, we're not trying to offend you. But you're a comedian, so you could probably take a lot of offense. Romish did quite well. 10 tiers. But it was basically for nothing, though. Because Frank...
Okay, hold on. Before we do that, I believe I found the actual sculpture that is the powerful art. It is by a
Okay.
Chinese man called Chen Wenling. It is called What You See Might Not Be Real, and it's apparently an art exhibition in Beijing. And it's a description about like a Wall Street villain being pinned to a wall by a farting bull because it's a
That's
Ponzi
exactly
scheme.
what it is.
Getting
What does it
getting
represent?
yeah. No, that's what it represents. The bull represents Wall Street stabbing a Ponzi schemer in the ass because in Chinese, uh, Fang Pi, which is a word that literally means to fart, is a slang for meaning to bluff or to lie.
Oh, gosh.
The man getting
That,
stabbed is supposed to be a representation of noted Ponzi schemer Bernie Madoff.
that, that, I think I enjoyed powerful art before I heard that description. Now I feel quite I've been wronged my whole life.
I think this is even more amazing. This is hilarious.
But
I
sometimes
love
things are
this. This is from like
funnier.
2009 or something. Yeah, it's so funny, and I love it, and I hope to someday see it. But yeah. Now we go on to the real winner of this task, Mr. Frank Skinner, which,
And
as he says,
Frank collects the tears
they
of the
don't.
crew members.
Yes, elderly Lich collects tears of the innocent. Is basically what Frank does. Because he cottons on very
That
quickly that
sounds
they
like a
don't
head.
have to be
That's
my tears.
That sounds like the title of a headline that Frank Skinner would be the sub of an article that Frank Skinner would be the subject of after a scandal or something.
Elderly, I think that should be the title of this episode. Elderly Lich collects the tears of the innocent.
We've already
because
we've already got one ageist reference to Frank Skinner in the title. Let's not have two.
Okay, fine, but this is my favorite piece of proper. This is how you play the game stuff in this episode because it doesn't have to be Frank's tears, and as a matter of fact, Frank does not collect any of his own tears at all. He collects only the tears of the crew, which, as someone who's watched a lot of like British TV shows like Top Gear and stuff like this, where there are large film crews who are acknowledged as part of who are acknowledged by the on-screen talent, I've always wondered why more of them do not enlist the crew as part of their scheme. So to see Frank doing it is basically like, yes, that is how you do this.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the crew have been utilized. I don't think there are any like proper utilizations of the crew until the third series. Again,
Yeah, but this is season 1. I'm so pleased that someone did it at least once.
yeah. I'm sorry. I sound like I'm trying to keep my head straight, but you're doing such an. I feel like Alex Horn talking to Greg Davis. You're doing such an amazing job, and I love you.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you very much.
So Frank
Um,
scores a whopping 12 tiers, and while obviously yes, it was fantastic what he did, I felt very bad for Romish because he put himself in harm's way, and it didn't even pay off for him.
well, that's the second time he's done that because there was also his wedding rings
Oh
thing, which
yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in his house when he comes back without it. But also, best quote of the episode: Frank Skinner as he is collecting after he has collected the tears. It's a weird thing to hold the tears of 4 or 5 different men in your hand. Elderly Lich collects the tears of the innocent.
Okay, so scores after that. Frank obviously romps home with 5. Romish 4, Josh 3. Roshan and Tim get a single point each, which means the scores at this point are Josh is on 14, Frank is on 13, Romish is on 9, although in my notes I spelled his name Romes without the H at the end. Roshan on 8 and Tim also on 8. But before the live task, there's one more big question that needs answering.
Josh
How many
Whitcomb,
grains
how
of
many
rice
grains of
in a
rice?
bag of rice? And Josh works
Which,
out about 25,000 grains.
yeah, which I
No, I
actually,
mean 2,500
if
grains. Sorry.
yes, which I actually, I want to point out that Josh does actually get a sympathy point from Greg Davies for doing all this work for him. But if I were the taskmaster, and this is not a Taskmaster Joe segment, I would have not given him any points, specifically because he did not count the grains of rice. He used math, which that is not what it was. That does not work out how many, because manufacturing variances mean that the bag could have been over or underfilled, and we would have needed an exact count. So I
I
would have
mean,
awarded Josh
yeah,
no points.
that is plausible actually, because
Also, I hate math because fuck math. And anyone who uses math to please me should not be allowed to do that.
I can't give my opinions on maths because I'm worried one of my old school teachers will listen and then they will hunt me down. But
You're giving way too much credit to, to them.
well, the live task, name all the players in an Aussie rules football team. Couldn't be any more simple.
Yes, which I have very few notes on this. I'm just going to read through them because the thing is that you're supposed to memorize the names of these people,
Did
and
you
each
memorize
contestant is given
how
5.
many? Close
I
your notes. I want you to close your notes right now and name as many as you can. Okay.
okay. All I have is Yank Tank and a man named Chisel,
Well, the name
because those are I. Did you write down every
I do.
name?
There's 15 names in total, and they are in order of
Oh my!
introduction. We've got Chisel, Grillsy, Reggie, Gordo, Paddo, the Colonel, Dina, Pop, Blanket, the Yank Tank, Clarence, who I thought was called Carrots first time I heard it, Izzy, Eggsy, B-Ram, and Trev.
I thought that Trev was named Tread.
Uh,
I have written down on my thing, just as like some of these ridiculous names, a man named Chisel, Yank Tank, Tread, Blanket, the Colonel, and Clarence. These are it's Aussie rules football full of Australians. It's hilarious. It's
well,
ridiculous. I'm sure.
they're probably not Australian just because it's an they you can play Aussie rules outside of Australia.
No, I know, but I figure that only Australians would actually be willing to nickname themselves Chisel and Yank Tank. I couldn't imagine a bunch of English people willingly or unwillingly adopting those nicknames.
Anyway, do you want to talk about who they?
Ramesh, who Ramesh couldn't remember one of these people and just named him Snoop Dogg. That's the only other thing I have from
All
this.
right, I've clearly got more notes on this than you have. So
Yeah, I was laughing too hard because I definitely stopped watching this episode halfway through the first time I did, so I'd never seen this before, and I was laughing too hard at the utterly ridiculous names.
oh dear. So we start with Frank. There's 15 members of the team in total, so each of the 5 comedians has to introduce 3 people. So Frank is given 3, and he names them as Bosie, Blanket, and he can't think of a name on the spot for the third person, so he just goes with Steve. Josh is next. He names off Chisel, Yankbank, and Paddo. Roisin gets Izzy, Trev, and she thinks that the last one is a fast person, so she goes with Moira. And Greg Davis associates the name Mora with lightning quick speed. And like you mentioned, Ramesh mentioned one of them was called Snoop Dogg. Ramesh also threw out Trev, and he finished up with Jane. And Tim's actually made me laugh quite hard because he named off Dina, Yank Tank, which was the correct way of saying it, not Yank Bank, like Josh Whittaker said it. And then he also just rattled off Mr. Naughty Boy. Which, fun fact, is what people call me in the bedroom.
I didn't need to know that, but there we are. Anyways.
I don't know who was specifically guessed correctly, but all 5 got one person correct and nothing more.
Yes. Yeah.
Which means the final score stand, Josh Whittaker gets 16, the second episode that Josh has won in a row. Frank gets 14, Ramesh is on 10, and Tim and Roshin are both on 9. Which means
the winner of Frank's vacuum cleaner cover from Elizabeth Debney is
Josh Whittaker.
Yay!
I forgot to ask during the prize task, what would you have bought in for most beautiful thing?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it for a while because I'd have to come up probably I'd have to find a piece of art that I thought was especially beautiful.
I'm probably just bringing a photo of myself.
Listen, that was my second choice. But also, you would have to, that seems like it's a little on the nose, especially because that just gives the Taskmaster opening to ridicule you. So I'd have to go seek out a piece of art that I could purchase because that I think would be especially beautiful.
What about a custom wood carving of Greg and Alex sat in their chairs?
Maybe that might work. You'd have to play that one by ear because if you did like when Ramesh commissioned a picture of Greg, if the artist you hire is bad, then you're fucked.
Yeah, but and Josh's naked Greg photo, in which you can see Greg Davies as naked as the day he was born.
I couldn't see anything in that, so I'm debating whether or not there was anything in it. But
we're nearly at the end. I hope you enjoyed this slightly shorter episode.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, we should say the scores at this point. Josh has taken control of the series. He's now on 67. Ramesh is right behind on 65. Then it's Tim on 60, Frank on 57, and Roshin on 46.
Yep.
What were you going to say before I interrupted you?
Oh no, I was saying that we're actually we're approaching the hour and 20-minute mark over this, so we're actually right on track with every other episode that isn't number 1 or number 3 or
episode 1 is our longest episode because of all the stuff that went wrong during it.
Yes. This one had minor technical difficulties, but we managed to solve it very quickly.
Yeah, but we'll get all these to you, and then we'll have the big Q&A episode, and fuck knows what else.
Season 2.
Season 2, yeah. We'll have to take a break to work some things over.
Yeah.
But oh well. I've been Emerson.
I've been
Joe. And Alex has been Alex.
And Greg has been enormous.
And Ramesh has been angry.
And Frank Skinner has been old.
And Josh Whittaker has been counting beans.
And Roshin Kanti has been unexpectedly competent.
Pretty sure that's everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.